Hi, Finn. What's up, guys? We are currently dog sitting for our friends till Monday. The good thing about him though is he's actually a pretty good dog. He gets really hyper sometimes. But that could also be because of Ronan and Aria wanting to play, so. Here is the bunny barn. We have recently taken out nest boxes for these newest little babies. Cause you guys are too big. Look how cute you are. Hello. You are so cute. Hi, Mama. Hi, Mama Twix. Yeah, there's a good pet. I know your babies are probably driving you crazy, huh? I'm sorry. There are 4 chocolates, 2 blacks, and 1 blue. I thought the blue was a lilac at first, because for some reason in my head I wasn't thinking that Twix was going to throw me a blue, but look at that. Look at that big round blue. Twix has done amazing for her first litter. She's done a really good job with them. I'm really proud of her. Yes, I'm talking about you. You're doing such a good job with your babies. Twix isn't really a show rabbit. She is just an improvement from her mom, and we're trying our hardest to get our chocolates up to the Silver Fox standard, because ours, as they stand, ours are a bit on the smaller side and lack depth. So we are breeding for improvement. Hello, little baby. Hello. Oh yeah, this one is a creme d'argent. It's not a silver fox. Twix is just taking care of it since Clove passed away, so she's doing a good job with that one. You are so cute. Oh my gosh. You're so cute. But yeah, so we are breeding for improvement with our chocolates. And I told you guys before that this is actually a test breeding because these babies are the result of inbreeding. So Twix's dad is Sprig. She was bred with him. And we got all of these. But they are very, very cute. I'm so excited I got the one little blue too. Look how cute you are. You're so round. So round. They're eating a lot of hay, which is good. I always like my babies to eat lots of hay. Are you climbing on your mom? Are you climbing on her? What are you doing, crazy thing? Do tiny Cocoa Puffs. Little tiny Cocoa Puffs. And then down here we have Miss Tundra and all of her babies. Hello, sweet Tundra. Hello. Hey, pretty mama. Tundra had 2 blues and 5 blacks. It's a little bit darker down here. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see them very well, but that's them. I always getting hay in their water. That's why it looks like that. I promise that they're given fresh water daily, guys. It just always looks like that because they pull this hay down. Yeah, it's too close. And also had to update you guys and show you Cassia's babies because Cassia had 10. I think that we already talked about this, but I can't quite remember. But they are all doing really well, all 10 of them. We didn't have any casualties in this litter, and that's always really nice when that happens. But yeah, she had 10. Crazy. The girl had 4 last time, so I wasn't expecting her to have a really big litter, but yeah, she gave me 10. Not complaining, because that's plenty to choose from for sure. Okay. Unfortunately, we've given Cass a long time to kind of come out of her attitude phase, but at this point, it's not getting better. It's actually getting a lot worse. But Cass is actually going to be getting culled because she is very, very mean. I just need her to raise these babies up, and then after that, I'm just kind of done with the attitude because she scares the crap out of me. It's sometimes hard to do, but I can only get bitten so many times before I've just had enough, and so she is probably gonna get cold. Here are all of Mira's babies that have moved out. Oh, there's more. There's so many. Because this was such a large litter, I decided to put them out in one of my tractors. So a 36 by 30 cage was not cutting it for these guys, obviously. I think there's 9 of them. And they are weaned now. They are like 7 weeks old and weaned. And yeah, so we're just gonna let them grow out for several more weeks and then tattoo them and look them over and whatnot. So this is the garden, you guys. I'm going to use this as a point of reference for you, but we have these small box beds up in the front here. This is our blackberry arch that we have blackberries planted in, obviously. We have a fin planted in this garden bed. Also a hammer, random hammer. But yeah, so 2 bigger boxes and then 2 more bigger boxes with hog panel trellises in them. Gosh, there's like ice all over the ground. Hi, Scuba. Hello, Scuba. That's my favorite chicken. We have these fabric planters, and we have another arch here, and I planted morning glories on it last year. I'm not doing that again. Yeah, and then more fabric pots, and honestly just a big old mess of stuff all over the ground. So we keep putting rabbit poop in these beds, and it's gonna be nice and fertilized by this spring when we start planting for sure. Come on, Finn. Alright guys, so this is our new indoor seed setup. I am so excited about it. I told you that I was taking gardening very seriously this year. I'm not joking around. I got the strip LEDs from Amazon, and honestly, I'm really liking them so far. They are 4 feet long, and the package came with 8. So we have 3 rows lit up right now. And the very top row up there, you can see that we don't have it lit up yet because there's nothing to put up there yet. All of them are connected together, which is super helpful. So you can see how this one is connected to that one, and then on the other side, that one is connected to this one, and it just zigzags like that all the way down. But it makes it really nice because we only have one cord to plug in and out, so I really do like this system a lot. And we got this big wire rack off of Amazon as well, and I'll link both of these things in the description down below. Actually, I'll link most of the stuff that you see here in the description down below. I started my spinach and my kale already because kale and spinach are both cold weather crops, and I wanted to get a jump on it. Even though the ground is frozen, I can still grow spinach and kale. So as you can see, we've already got sprouts, and I've already thinned them out a little bit. Some of them still need thinned out, but I'm waiting on them to get a little bit bigger. But so far, the lights have been doing a really good job, and our germination rate is actually really good so far. So I'm hopeful that we are going to get some really big kale this year, and actually might be able to eat spinach this year, because I feel like every single year I start spinach and then it gets way too hot way too quickly, and then it bolts and we're not able to eat it. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully having some that is actually edible this year. You can see a little tiny spinach growing in multiple of these containers, so that is very exciting. Love that. And then also this last weekend I started my peppers. These are Ajvarski peppers. And I also started my tomatoes. Also have some houseplants up here. That is unrelated. I'm trying to get better about taking care of my houseplants because this winter was not good for them. So hoping that they really appreciate that light up there. So we are just going to run through my garden plans box by box because, as most of you know, I have raised garden beds. So we are just going to be running through what each box is going to have. And the lighting is just a little bit better in here than it was where I'm keeping my plants currently. So yeah, we're going to do that in here. In the first small box that is up front, I'm going to be planting it entirely with chamomile. So here is the chamomile that I am using. It is German chamomile, and I love this stuff. I've grown it for the past either 2 or 3 years now, and I've really enjoyed having this chamomile. Chamomile is one of those things that just grows like crazy. Like, you can literally just throw it into the dirt and you will end up with chamomile growing, and it grows like wildfire. It also comes back every year, so that's kind of cool. But every year I keep changing my mind on where I actually want my stuff to be, so that is why we are planting it again. I have to plant it in this box. The entire box is going to be full of it. And the cool thing about chamomile too is that I actually use it for my rabbits as well. My rabbits really like eating chamomile. It is supposed to have a nice and calming effect on both humans and animals. So we pick the flowers for tea, to dry out for tea for ourselves, but then also we use it for the rabbits because they really enjoy eating it. In the next smaller box, this is something that I failed miserably at last year, but I am going to be filling this other small box just full of carrots. The carrots that we are growing are called New Carota, and they're supposed to be really good. We eat a lot of carrots around here, and I would like to have carrots that I actually grew. I actually did grow some really great carrots 2 years ago here, but last year I just did a really terrible job and I didn't try to amend the situation because I got too busy with other things. So that is one thing that I'm trying to get better at this year, is actually staying on top of it and actually seeing if I can grow some carrots, because we love carrots here. And one of the first 4x8 boxes in the garden, I am going to be planting corn in a block. So like half of the box is going to be corn, and the corn that we got is called De Maun KS Super Sweet. I'm probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but we did try growing this last year, and like a lot of things last year, it didn't do very well because of my error, because I planted it way too early in the season and it was still like really cold out when I planted it. So I think a lot of it actually just died because it was too cold. So I'm gonna try really hard to do a good job, because what we did get out of this corn last year, which was probably only like maybe 4 or 6 ears, but it was really delicious. So I'm gonna try really hard this year to do better with the corn, because it was so good and I love grilling corn. So definitely gonna try better. And then in the other half of that box, which I don't have seeds to show you or anything like that, but in the other half of the box, we are going to be planting potatoes. And potatoes is something that I've just not taken advantage of yet. But potatoes are like, we eat them all the time, so it makes sense that we would grow them as well. So like I said, I don't have any seeds or like slips or anything like that to show you. I am trying to sprout some potatoes currently, but it's kind of an experiment, and if it doesn't work out, I'm gonna be buying some potatoes to plant basically. So hopefully it works out. Potatoes are one of the things that I still haven't like wrapped my head around yet, but I know that they're really easy once you actually do get them going. So we'll definitely update you on that. And then in the 4x8 box next to that one up front, we are going to be planting Ajvarski peppers, spinach, and lettuce. Now, the Ajvarski peppers are something that I grew last year, and they actually produced rather well despite me not really caring for them as much as I could have. So they are something that we really enjoyed last year a lot. They taste amazing, and I don't have a package to show you. They are from Baker Creek, at least the kind that we got were from Baker Creek, but I actually saved seeds last year. So yeah, so I'm hoping that, I don't know why it makes me nervous. I know I saved them properly, but it still makes me nervous that like these aren't gonna work and that I'm gonna have to like buy them and then it's gonna be like a late start again. But I'm really hoping that they do sprout, because that is the whole point of saving seeds, right? So yeah, first kind of experiment saving seeds with just a couple of things this year. There's one more thing and we'll talk about that later, but I'm excited for the Ajvarski peppers. They are seriously such a good pepper, and we're not growing bell peppers, we're just like strictly growing Ajvarski just because, I don't know, they just have such a sweet flavor to them. There's not any spice really, it's just like a sweet pepper. So I really enjoyed eating those last year, and I want so many more of them this year, so hoping that they do very well. And then the spinach, which you guys saw, the spinach that has already started sprouting in there in the grow room. It's technically our dining room, but I'm calling it the grow room right now. But the spinach that we are growing right now is called Bloomsdale Long-Standing Spinach, and this is the kind of spinach that I've grown the last several years, and it does really well when you plant it when it's still cold outside, but for the last, I think 2 years probably, I have planted it way too late, and immediately as it comes up it just bolts because it gets too hot. It's definitely not something that you're going to be able to grow outdoors during the summer if it's hot where you live. But I really do enjoy it when we do have it, so I'm trying to get a move on it and start it early, and that way we can transplant it and have an abundance of spinach to eat, because we eat a lot of spinach around here. And then next to the spinach we're going to be doing a row of lettuce, and this is the same type of lettuce that I did a couple of years ago. It is called Rocky Top lettuce, and it's just kind of an awesome little pretty mix of different colors of lettuce. Last year I tried growing more of like the heads of lettuce, and but you know, last year, we don't count last year because last year I just got like completely overwhelmed. So but when I did grow this, I really liked it. When I grew the heads of lettuce, I didn't like it as much as the Rocky Top lettuce, and I think that's because when you grow it in a row like that, it's more like baby greens instead of like big heads of lettuce. So I think that I'm just a baby green person. We do eat a lot of salads around here. It would be really awesome to just be able to walk out there and get a salad and have it for lunch. I want that again. We have done that before, but last year it was kind of a colossal failure. In the back row of the 4x8 garden beds, we are going to also be having a tomato bed. Last year I also did a tomato bed, but I planted like herbs and flowers around it, and it was just kind of a mess because it was just way too much. So I'm dedicating it to just tomatoes this year, and I think that's really gonna help me to be able to get in there and like properly take care of the tomatoes. So one of the tomatoes that I am doing is kind of an experiment, and you guys may have seen they were labeled with yellow and red in our grow room, and that is because one of them is called a yellow brandywine tomato. I have never grown any tomato that is not some sort of shade of red, and I think that it would just be really fun to like have a yellow tomato. They're supposed to taste amazing. I'm hoping that they're very good. It would be awesome to have like a multicolored salsa. I think that would be so good. And then the other one is called a Paul Robeson tomato, and I've never grown this kind before. I was actually going to do the black brandywines again this year because the black brandywine is what I did last year, and I really did like it, and I almost did them again because I really did enjoy them last year. I thought they were really good, but then the Paul Robeson caught my eye. I don't know, I just kind of changed my mind last minute, so I've heard a lot of good things about them, so I'm hoping that the Paul Robeson tomatoes are going to be really good. Tomatoes are probably my favorite thing to grow every year. I really enjoy growing tomatoes because we eat most of them, and if we don't eat them, we turn them into salsa because we love salsa, we love bruschetta, pizza sauce, pasta sauce, all that stuff. So tomatoes are just kind of like, we've got to have those in the garden. And the back 4x8 row next to the tomatoes, we are going to be planting Blue Lake pole beans and cucumbers. I'm growing the same cucumbers as I grew last year. They were really good to just eat straight out of the garden, but also I made a bunch of pickles last year with them, and I have no regrets. And honestly, I'm really sad that we didn't put more of those pickles in the freezer because they were literally the best pickles ever. Like, our friends were raving about them and everything, and that actually made me feel really good. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be growing a whole bunch of cucumbers because I want to make just a bunch of pickles to freeze this year. And then, like I said, the other thing that I saved seeds on, not just the Ajvarski peppers, but I saved seeds 2 years ago on these Blue Lake pole beans. I've had them in a very dark cabinet for the past 2 years, so I'm really hoping that these actually sprout. If not, I'm gonna be kind of bummed, but I did save seeds, and so I'm hoping that these work for us. Last year we did the Blue Lake bush beans, and while they grew great, I mean, I have no complaints with the growth of them, but the previous year we did the pole beans, and I really enjoyed the pole beans, but back then we didn't have the infrastructure set up for their intense growth. Like it was crazy how much they grew. So we didn't have like a proper trellis to like grow them on. But this year I think that they will do super well because, as you guys know, we do have those cattle panel trellises. So I'm hoping that the Blue Lake pole beans, green beans, are gonna be able to grow really well on those cattle panel trellises. I'm very excited for that. And then our front arch, as you guys know, we have blackberries there. Blackberries are perennials, so they'll come back every year. Don't have to worry about that front arch, but the back arch is where I had morning glories planted last year, and I ripped all of that out because it became a mess, and I should have listened to some people in my life that told me it was going to happen, but it definitely happened, and it was just insane. I think that the morning glories were part of the reason why I just gave up on the garden last year. But in one side of that arch trellis, we are going to be growing honey nut squash, which I believe is kind of like a butternut squash. And then on the other side, we are going to be growing vegetable spaghetti squash. And I'm really hoping that when we plant them like that, they will kind of like grow and like arch together, and we'll just have like different types of squash just like hanging down like off of that arch. I have this fantasy of like going underneath the arch and just being able to pick off a squash, and just, it's like magical, but I feel like it never happens that way. So we're gonna try really hard to make it happen that way this year. So I am stoked about the squash arch. I'm just hoping that I can make sure that no morning glories can come back this year, because I know that that can happen. So I might be weeding out morning glories for the first half of the season. Hopefully not, but I probably will be. So that leaves us really with the fabric pots. And so you guys saw my kale. I have lots of kale planted. I grow kale mainly for my rabbits because rabbits love kale. And kale is one of those greens that's really good for rabbits. So I will probably be planting that in multiple places, but I'll probably also be using a couple of my fabric pots that are out in the garden as well. The kale that I am growing is called Blue Curled Scotch. And I have grown this kale for the past, like, I think 3, maybe 4 years. But I've always had such a good success rate. I have so many rabbits this year because my breeding program has just gotten so much bigger. So the goal is to be growing enough kale where I can give them at least one big leaf every day, because I really like doing that in the summer and fall. They really enjoy it, and so I'm hoping that we will have enough kale planted. Probably gonna have to get some more containers, but at least a couple of those fabric pots will be with kale in them, I'm sure. And then a couple of the other things that we'll be growing in the fabric pots is dill. I grow elephant dill, and dill is probably one of my favorite herbs because I like to put it in things like soup. I also use it to make the pickles that I was just talking about with those cucumbers, so we just love dill here. It is so good. And another pot will be filled with basil. Basil is like a staple herb here. Like, I can't have a garden and not have basil in it. Basil's one of the reasons that I want a garden. I just love the smell of basil. I love the taste of it. This basil is more of like a sweet basil that you would make like pesto with, or use it to make bruschetta. There are other basils that are like Thai basils, and they're a little bit more pungent, but I love this sweet basil. I think this basil is probably my favorite kind that I've ever tried, so I keep growing it because I love it. And I already have oregano planted out in the garden right now, so I'm probably going to be uprooting that and moving that to a fabric pot. I'm probably going to have to dig up and repot my rosemary, and I'll probably be buying parsley starts if my parsley doesn't come back properly this year. It kind of went through the ringer last year, and it's my fault, so I'm hoping that it does come back, but if it doesn't, I'll just have to go back to the nursery and buy some started parsley, which isn't a big deal. It's not like it costs a lot of money or anything like that. It's just I would like it to come back. Anyway, yeah, so one of those fabric pots will be filled with parsley. And then I am gonna try really, really hard this year. I did grow some of this last year, but the morning glories completely choked it out. But it is called moringa. It's a dwarf moringa. Moringa is supposed to be a superfood, and so I'm growing it mainly for my rabbits. It's supposed to be really good for rabbits and livestock to eat moringa, like the leaves of it. And last year, I don't think that I really paid attention to it as it was germinating, and I had a lot of them die, or a lot of them didn't germinate because I didn't soak the seeds properly. These seeds of the moringa are like huge, and they need to be soaked in warm water for like 3 days. So I'm gonna try really hard this year to at least get 3 good-sized dwarf trees, and hopefully we'll have some moringa to feed to the rabbits this year. I would love if that happens. And I might also plant some moringa in like some containers as well, not just the fabric pots, so we'll see. So that is kind of the garden plan of the year, guys. Maybe it gave you some inspiration for your own garden. If you're planning that, now is the time to start planning that for sure. I did want to show you a couple of the things that we are using for the seed room, and that would be these pots right here. And I got these pots off of Amazon. Most of these things I got off of Amazon, and I will link everything in the description down below. And anything that I have linked below on Amazon, you guys, I do make a little bit of an affiliate commission from it. That is true for most of my videos, so I greatly appreciate it. So these pots right here, I think they're 4-inch pots. They are very, very thin, but I kind of like that. And honestly, I was worried that I wasn't gonna be able to reuse these, but I think that I'm gonna be able to. But just so you get a good idea of how thin these are. Yeah, they're really, really thin. So, but I really like these, and they're really cheap. I got a package of 100. Really happy with these. This is what we are starting most of our seeds in this year. I also went as far as to get markers for everything, because in previous years it never fails. I like mark on the pot what the thing is, and then somehow it gets mislabeled. But usually I use like those peat pots. You guys know what I'm talking about, the biodegradable ones. And I've been writing with a permanent marker on those in the previous years, and once you water things a couple of times in there, the permanent marker, I feel like it kind of like starts disintegrating off of the pot, and then I forget what is in there. So it's not been good. So if you're interested in markers like that, highly recommend these ones that I got. I'm very happy with them. Another thing that has been super duper helpful this year is these Bootstrap Farmer 1020 trays. These trays are so strong, and I'm excited because in the past I keep buying those really skinny 1020 trays from Lowe's, and if you put too much weight in them and then you pick them up, they like crumple or tear, and they just don't last very long in my opinion, and they start like getting destroyed after like a year's use. So I just went ahead and decided to purchase some Bootstrap Farmer trays because they seem really strong, and guys, I have been super happy with them so far, so I would 100% recommend the Bootstrap Farmer trays. I really like them. I can see me using them for like years from now. I hope that you guys kind of enjoyed this little run through of our garden plans for 2022. I'm really hoping that this year is going to be a good gardening year, not only for Jameson and I, but also for all of our animals. I would love to feed my rabbits a bunch of stuff out of the garden. That's always the goal here. It's not just for us, but it's also for our animals. So it's kind of nice to have a set plan in mind and stick to it. And actually there's sticky notes on the back of all of my seeds. And I went through one day and I was writing down all of the dates that I need to start things indoors and plant things outside and transplant things and whatnot. So I'm hoping that I just really stay on top of it this year and do a really good job with the whole garden thing. You guys need to hold me accountable for that. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and yeah, I got a rabbit show in 2 days. By the time you see this, it'll probably be tomorrow. So yeah, anyway, gotta get ready for that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.